Crusade and the Knights of the Ebon Blade have assaulted the gates of the Ice-Crown Citadel and are preparing for a massive attack upon the Scourge. Our mission is a bit more subtle, but equally as important. With the attention of the Lich King turned towards the front gate, we'll be working our way through the side, in search of information that will enable us to defeat him, once and for all. Our scouts have reported that the Lich King has a private chamber outside of the Frozen Throne, deep within a place called the Halls of Reflection. That is our target, champions. We will cut a swath of destruction through this cursed place, and find a way to enter the Halls of Reflection. If there is anything of value to be found here, it will be found in the halls. The Dark Lady watches over you. Make haste.
As you saw, that's the opening of Forge of Souls. This is a dungeon that actually is connected to other dungeons, which go near to the Forge of Souls, the Pit of Sarah, and the Halls of Reflection. And as the Dark Lady has said, we're to make our way to the Halls of Reflection. But this is the dungeon you would start in. As you can see, as Forge of Souls means, it's literally forging souls into whatever the Lich King needs. And as you can see, we're up against the Cult of the Dam. Actually, I'm going to add this interesting fact that in these dungeons, there's a chance that a bind-on equipped weapon drop, well, it's a quest item drop that can turn into a very lucrative weapon back then. A lot of people were going for it, and when it was on the AH, you were paying at least, if I remember the prices right back then, over 200,000 gold to get it. Luckily, I got it to drop while I ran this place. But maybe we'll get lucky today and get one to drop. So let's get started and see what we're up against.
Too far away. I cannot attack that target. I must get closer.
And we finally make it to the first boss here, known as Bronjam. Now this boss, back then, was a bit tricky. He had an ability known as Corrupt Soul, which if it didn't get dispelled after a certain amount of time, a soul fragment known as a Corrupt Soul fragment would spawn. That if it got within about 2 yards of him, it heals him for a good chunk of HP. He also has an ability known as Magic's Bane. It's a circular arc attack that does physical damage, but can also do damage according to how much mana you have at the time. So it's best to keep everyone behind him and just let the tank be the one that's in front of him. For a typical warlock, he does have Shadow Bolt and Fear. But at 35%, he casts an ability known as Soul Storm. Basically, he teleports back to the center of this room. And if you're not inside this little ring, circular plate here, you'll be outside in a shadow vortex that you will take constant damage over. Now, it sucked because he was feared during this phase too. Which means basically, if you didn't get that fear dispelled, you probably end up in the vortex and you start taking damage. But other than that, we're going to take him down. Oh, also another fact. He actually drops a bag that a lot of people were after back then in Wrath of the Lich King. We might get lucky and it drops for us.
Finally, a captive audience.
Now, as you can see, there's those flesh giants right there. Now, these Spectral Wardens, you only really want to fight them one-on-one. You don't want to pull more than one because you could easily wipe out your group. At least back then. Now, this mob looks familiar. It actually is a similar boss from the raid known as Black Temple. So they reused that boss model for this boss here, the Devourer of Souls. But this one acts differently. It has an ability known as Phantom Blast. You want to interrupt that whenever it's cast, because it can do some major damage. But it also has a Reflect type ability. It'll cast it on a player, so whatever damage is done to the boss while the person has mirrored souls on them will take a certain amount of damage the boss takes. As well, it can summon up pools of shadow damage known as the Well of Souls on the ground, so you don't want to be standing inside them. There's also as that spawn that can knock back players, but also chase them too, and they can't be killed. They last for about 15 seconds. All it is basically running around, don't let them touch you. Other than that, this boss, as long as you do the mechanics, was pretty easy to take out.
You will call the host of the fate! I shall devour you! Only delay the inevitable!
Excellent work, champions. We shall set up our base camp in these chambers. My Magi will get the Scourge transport device working shortly. Step inside when you are ready for your next mission. I will meet you on the other side.
Now, as you see, I pretty much blew this boss to pieces. Now, as I said, this is actually connected to another dungeon. Known as Pit of Saron. To access it, you basically would just go through the portal here, and you would be in part 2 of those 3 dungeons. Well, that's been it for Forge of Souls. This has been from Asterion Gaming, asking you to please like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.